Hey everyone, welcome to AWS series. In this episode, we are going to talk about Amazon Elastic File System, which is also known as EFS. EFS is a scalable Elastic Cloud Native File System, which can be used to set up a file share on your EC2 instances. The benefits of the EFS are the dynamic elasticity. Amazon EFS automatically scales instantly as per your file store storage capacity requirement, and whenever you don't have a requirement, it can automatically shrink it. So you are only getting paid for the amount of data which you are storing and the read write cost. I'll go into the costing section as well. The cost wise it is very cheaper. I'll show you with the price with the help of the pricing calculator. Apart from this, it is fully managed service, like I said previously as well, which means that you don't have to worry about the platform where exactly it is storing and management of that particular platform itself. It is highly scalable. It expands your data across multiple availability zones within the region in which you are setting up this. Like I said, it is scalable service. It can go or store up to petabyte of data, and then you can have a performance as much as like 10 GB per second up to 50,000 or 500,000 IOPS per second. In this demonstration, I'm going to simply create an EFS and then we will attach this EFS with our EC2 instance. So let's first of all create an EFS. Creating a EFS is simple. You simply search EFS here in the search box. You will click on EFS. That will navigate to this EFS console dashboard. From here, you can simply click on create file system. Depending upon if you have access, you should be able to provision the EFS in your selected network. So for example, I'm giving the name as the demo EFS. That is the name. Next, as we are provisioning this particular file system for a specific virtual network, so you have to specify the virtual network. Now it may possible that you are creating the EFS on the one virtual network or one VPC, and then you might be want to access from the another VPC. That can be possible depending on how your VPC networks are configured or paired or set up the connectivity between each other. We have already seen a lot of demos with respect to connecting the different VPCs with each other. You can refer to those in demo. For now, I'm going to keep the default VPC selected. I don't have any public VPC for this particular demo. If you want, you can create the VPC as well. So select the VPC in which you would like to provision the EFS. Next, there are two options. One, you go with a recommended setting, which is this one, which is given here. For an example, you can have a default throughput mode and as an elastic rather than asking for a fixed bandwidth like 10 GB per second or 500 MB per second. Those kind of specific bandwidth, you go with the elastic bandwidth, which will help you increasing the bandwidth depending upon the demand, and then it can automatically shrink the bandwidth requirement as and when it is needed. Similarly, how long your data will be available in the particular access type of infrequent access, or it could be standard access and things like that. So that those are the configuration which will be available here. Automatic backup and all. This is the default recommended settings which is given, but if you would like to customize the recommended setting, you can simply click here on the customize option, or if you are happy with the recommended settings, simply click on the create file system. With a click of single button, your EFS will be provisioned. Now let me go to the customize option and I'll show you what all customization available. For example, in the customize option, we have the general settings or the general file system where you can change the name or add the name. File system regional, or you would like to have a deploy or host your file EFS on a particular zone, single zone. In the regional means that it will be hosted across multiple zones within the selected region. Which region it will be hosted? The region in which your VPC is hosted. Right? The life cycle management, how long your data is going to be transition into infrequent access after 30 days, and then after how many days your data will move to archive. It is going to be after 90 days. So these are the settings we have. So by default, the encryption of the data at rest is enabled. That is how the security is guaranteed for the EFS. Apart from that, you can also bring your own KMS, customer managed or your own cloud managed key to secure the data. You can control the throughput using the throughput mod, enhance or busting or elastic is recommended, like we discussed earlier as well. In addition to that, you have some advanced setting as well, which you can change it. At the moment, advanced setting, we have the performance mode as in general purpose, which is by default selected. Max IO you can only select if you have this particular option, which is archive transaction. If I set to none, then my next max IO will be IO option will be enabled. Next, you need to provide the tags as well. So I can say that EFS demo EFS, the name we have given. So let's use that. If I click on next, it is talking about the network access. So we have mentioned that we need to specify that in which VPC this EFS we are setting up, so that from that EFS is fully managed service, but having VPC allocated means that you should be able to access this EFS from this any service which is hosted, which is part of this VPC, like EC2 instance, which is part of this particular VPC. I should be from that EC2 instance, I should be able to connect to the EFS file share. Then you can specify the availability zone or the subnet in which from which you would like to have a connectivity to from your EFS system to your virtual machines, right? So at the moment, all the subnets of the virtual network subnet is selected, and also these subnets, if you pay attention to that, it has got the security group selected, which is a default security group. Yes, we are talking about the network file share, and that works on the port number 2049. So we need to ensure that the security group which is been selected as part of this particular subnet, these security group needs to have the roles or those inbound roles attached to the security group. I'll show you how do we do that. For now, I'm going to keep it as is. Let's click on next. File system, if you would like to control any specific policies for your file system, you can attach the policy, you can modify the policy according to that. So let's give you an example. If I would like to prevent a root access by default, you can simply click on this. This particular selection will create this JSON policy, which means that now anyone who is trying to connect to EFS, they would not have access to the root directory of your EFS. That's one thing. It depends on what you want to do with this EFS connectivity. Let's click on next, and finally you can review it and then create it. Let's click on create. It won't take more than a second to post the EFS. So let me just validate it. Yeah, there it is. So EFS is successfully created. You can look at here. We have got the EFS name, and then now this EFS has got the ARN name. Like any other service, we get the ARN name for your AWS service. Similarly, we get the DNS name. So this is a DNS name which can be used for connecting or attaching this EFS to your EC2 instance. You can go to the file system policies, you can go to the access points, so you can create various different directories as an access point, and those directories can be configured as a file share to your EC2 instance. For an example, I can create a backup directory or backup access point, and all my Oracle database backup I can simply mount to this backup access point, so that these backups are automatically stored here in this EFS. So even in the case wherein I lost my machine, then I don't have to worry about the Oracle machine or the loss of the data, because all my very frequent backup or all my backup will be available in this EFS with the help of these access points which are been set up onto my Oracle database point, right? So let's create an access point database. I'm going to call it as the root path is default optional. You can leave all these user groups as well. Users group ID, I can if you would like to control the access to the specific direct to this access point from the access specific user account or group, then you can make it, or you can simply click on create access point, and that will create an access point. So now I have got the backup as an access point, and this is my access point ID. I'll show you both the ways how to connect to these access point as well as the root level of access. Now to connect to these, first of all, I need to have a machine. So I'll go to the EC2 instance. Let's go to the EC2 instance here. Launch an EC2 instance. I'm going to launch my EC2 instance of, let's call it as 001. This is my first VM. Going to keep the OS type as an Amazon Linux default. Instance type as well. Let's select the existing key which I have. I'm going to keep the virtual networks setting as is, which is the default VPC, the same VPC where we have our EFS configured. For the security group, this security group also needs to have an access to the EFS endpoint from the inbound or outbound connectivity. Outbound is anyways by default all enabled. For inbound also we need to have that connectivity available. So that is something which we are going to set up once we create the VM. All right. So let's click on launch. I'm going to give it the name to my security group. So let me just modify the name of the security group. NFS SG. That's the name I would like to give so that we know this is the one which we would like to modify. Add security group. Let me just add the security group as an NFS. That's the one. And I want to say anywhere. So basically 2049 would be allowed as part of this security group, which is going to be attached to my EC2 instance. So if you have existing EC2, make sure that this tool is attached to your security group, which is part of your EC2. Let's launch this machine. Now the machine is successfully launched and this machine has deployed into a public subnet, which means that it will have access to the internet because the public subnet has got the internet gateway attached to it, and also this machine has got the public IP address, which means that I should be able to connect to this machine from the browser, right? All right, so let's click on connect and try and connect to this particular machine. And simply click on connect. It should open the instance in the browser. So our EC2 instance is successfully connected. If I simply run the ping command, ping google.com, I can just verify that it has connectivity to the internet. That's fine. Let's clear the terminal. Now to mount the EC2 with EFS, you can simply refer to this particular block, and this requires the directory to be created. But before that, it needs to have the mount point installed on the system. So that requires the command like sudo yum install Amazon EFS utility or utils. This will install the EFS utility on the machine, and then post that you can configure it. So let's run this command. So the installation is successfully done. Now next thing, we need to create the directory mkdir, and then I'm going to create the directory as an mnt EFS. You can give it any name, that is up to you. Let me just give it a name as sudo mkdir. The directory is created. Let's verify the directory. This is the directory name. Next, we need to run the command, which is sudo mount -t, and the name of the EFS is the one which we have specified, and the file system ID. Now, where do you get the file system ID? You can simply click on attach, and that will give the same command. You can simply copy this command and then run it. Let's go to the machine, specify, instead of this EFS, I need to specify mnt and then the name of EFS directory which we have created. So with that, our EFS should be successfully mounted. To verify the EFS, let me just clear the terminal. To verify the EFS, I can simply run the dfh command, and I should have the access to this EFS, which is this one. Now I can go to the cd/mnt/EFS. If I run the lsl command, there are no files. Now to create the file, I can simply create a file using the echo command. So let me just run the echo command, and this randomly I'm writing some type text file and just simply creating this particular file. Let's click on enter. It says the permission is denied. If this mount directory do not have permission to the logged in user, which is our EC2 user. This is the user. So let me just assign the permissions to this user. To assign the permission, I am going to run sudo chown and then just enter the username, column, username, same group, and assign the permission to this particular mnt/EFS. And now if I run the echo command again, I should be able to create the file. The file is successfully created. Let me just clear the terminal. If I run the lsl, have this particular file available. So this proves that our EFS is successfully mounted. Now let's create another machine, and that is where we are going to mount this particular access point. So let's click on this, and I'm going to click on instances for EC2. I'm going to launch another instance. going to define it in the same instance, same group, and then I'm going to specify the existing security group, the one which we have created, because it has got every rule related to EFS. Click on this, launch it, connect. Now I'm going to install the same Amazon EFS utility. Installation is completed. Next, I'm going to create the directory, same procedure. This time I'm going to give it name as an EFS. The directory is created. Let's assign the permission to this directory. Permission is also granted. Now I go back to our access point. This is our access point. And in fact, I'm going to directory inside the directory mkdir EFS backups. Now with that, I'm going to click on attach. Simply copy this command, go to the machine, just going to clear the terminal, paste this, and instead of EFS, I'm going to say EFS backups. Directory is successfully mounted. I can run the command. I have the access to EFS/backup. It needs to be CD. I'm onto the backups directory. If I run the lsl command, this is the file I have inside the root directory, the file which we have created earlier. So this is how you can simply reach or connect to your file system across multiple machines and then make use of this shared drive. Now let's look at the costing model of the EFS. If I go back to the EFS, Amazon EFS, click on the pricing calculator. Assuming that I would like to store 100 GB of data in this file system and I want to perform 100 GB of read write, 100 GB of store, what is going to be the cost? This is what I'm going to calculate. So select the region, select the region as in whichever region you are in right now, find the service. So I would like to find the service in the EFS. Let's click on configure. I would like to have a throughput based configuration. So this is what it is. So throughput based configuration. I have to specify the storage capacity, all that in the GB. So I can simply change it to terabyte as well if I need to. So let's keep it in GB. So as I said, 50%, 100% or 100 terabyte, and then 50% of the amount of data which I would like to infrequently access, and 50% every month I would like to store it in the archive. Depending upon that, I'm just trying to calculate the price. I'm going to mention the 100 GB as infrequent data, 100 GB as read. So randomly I'm just adding the 100 GB data just to show you the amount of cost it will have associated. So if I simply show calculator, it is going to cost me the $10 per month, right? That is the monthly cost for the data storage. Now let's talk about the data access or read write value. So if I talk about the 100 GB data read and write both and try and calculate it, it is again showing the $10. So 10 and 10, it's basically approximately $20 or $21 in total it is going to cost. So from the amount of data which we are tailing and the scalability solution which we are having with respect to this EFS, this is I think the best service we should be using wherever you have a requirement for network file share. I hope this has given some idea about how to use network file share. If it is, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching it. See you in the next video.